Do you find any of the biggest conspiracy theories out today to be plausible? What's your favorite one of all of them?
Underground in Denver, I remember there was a show.
As a person that's so outspoken about election fraud, what do you think is the ultimate way that we can combat it as an individual and as a team?
There is only one way. People can say, oh, you can have this, safe computers and banks and everything else. Why can't you have it? Of course you can have an election. Nonsense.
Who runs the world?
Who runs the world?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Justus Smith with Proverbs Media Group, and today I have a very special guest. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Lindell.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have you here. So I want to start somewhere easy, lighthearted. Who runs the world?
Who runs the world? Jesus Christ runs the world.
Amen, amen.
Did I get that one first one right?
We got it. We got a bingo there. So when we're looking at the government and when we're looking at the way that the world works with politics, you have your intelligence communities, you have bureaucracies, technocrats, politicians. Who do you think's running the show there when it comes to the government?
I've been fighting for 4 years, and if I had to say, you got the deep state uniparty, and I say uniparty, deep state uniparty globalists, and you could even throw in the CCP a little bit. That's in there. Because people ask me all the time, well, who did this with our elections? And I say elections, not just 2020. And it's evil. You tie it all together, it's evil. But to put your finger on, now I can sit and look at deviations in behavior and say, well, he's got to be part of it, she's got to be part of it. I could sit and point out many politicians here in this country I believe were part of it. Crooked Brad Ratzenberger down in Georgia, he's a Secretary of State there, a Republican. He's done more. Robin Voss up in Wisconsin. They did stuff like in my teams and stuff, when you go in and you want to look at, investigate something, and they stop you and block you at every turn, and not only that, you get attacked for it. You're just trying to get to the truth, legally get to the truth, and you're getting blocked by someone that should want the truth revealed. It's weird, right? And people ask me, who did this? Boy, we got to put them all behind bars someday. I've said melt down the voting machines and turn them into prison bars. But who are you going to put behind the bars? You ask a very tough question because of who's behind all this stuff. And you got things like, would I put Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook in that category? I would, I know the stuff that was done to me personally. Movies come out, the cover up, the Facebook fact checkers and stuff. Now all of a sudden he's changed? I mean, all of a sudden he's down in Florida going, hey, I'm changed. I'm, Mark, I guess people can change, but you still got to be held accountable for what you did back then and what you're doing now. So, will it all end up being revealed? I don't know. We're in a time in history where God's given us grace, and it's the best time in history to be alive. This is a spiritual battle of biblical proportions, of a spirit of evil and good colliding, never before in history. And you see, we're blessed that God, God's given us grace and given us our great real president, Donald Trump. It's been shot at, you name it, it's happened, been shot, that person be gone forever in politics, right. But he's got God's protection. Myself, my company, just on MyPillow, has been attacked more than any company in history. Why? What did they do, this employee-owned company? Nothing. All it was, their CEO is out there trying to help save a country and screaming from the top of his lungs and won't stop until we get to paper ballots hand counted.
Wow. As a person that's so outspoken about election fraud, what do you think is the ultimate way that we can combat it as an individual and as a team?
There is only one way. People can say, oh, you can have this, safe computers and banks and everything else. Why can't you have it? Of course you can have an election. Nonsense. Every bank, when you have problems with your bank, if you're off, okay, you go to your bank, they open up the computer and they say, yep, you're right, or they're right, right? That's what it is. 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines. 132. Argentina was the last one that did it, and they did it in 4 months. One judge says, hey, we can't trust these. Bam, paper ballots hand counted. okay? Over 100 countries have banned early voting and mail-in voting, okay? We have the worst election platforms of any country in the world. There's nothing even close to the United States. Now, we are also we have one shot to change all that, and we have all the tools. Everything we've done for the last 4 years has come to this point. What people can do at the ground level, I have over 300,000 people in all 50 states. You want to get involved, everybody, Vocal Social, VOCL Social. .com, or you can just go to the App Store, put Mike Lindell apps. I have Lindell TV, Vocal Social. Under that, I have the Election Crime Bureau that I run, the Cause of America. All these other groups were like a hub of a wheel. You want to get involved, know what you can do right down to your local precinct. It's all laid out for you. Or you can go to lindellplan.com. That's all laid out. We're starting from the top. I have a friend. Okay, very high place, and you start up there. He said it publicly. We're going to go to paper ballots, hand counted, same-day voting. Now, I want to tell you this. If you have any of your Republican friends out there that say, oh, the machines are fine, and the party, boy, the Republican Party, we all said, oh, let's vote early, and all this, and they jumped on and they think that that's only going to work one time. I tell you, that the evils out there, they're good at that, okay? But let me tell you, the RNC, okay, they voted in August of 23, everybody. This was a resolution. When I ran for RNC chair, I did it for only one reason. I wanted to show them everything, what we had to get to. Here's what the RNC resolution said. This is every state, the same. Same-day voting, paper ballots, voter ID, precinct level, hand counted. That's what the RNC put in, and this is what we need to get to. It was their resolution. Where did that go? And now what we have, everybody, that you can all do is use your voice. We didn't have a voice 4 years ago. We were, I was just talking about CPAC here. They gave all our platforms like Proverbs, like you guys, everybody, we needed a voice, okay? We all needed voices. Well, since the 2020 election, on January 7th and 8th, when they tried to destroy our voice forever, 1.2 million Americans were deplatformed. 1.2 million off Zuckerberg's Facebook, Twitter, Jack Dorsey's corrupt Twitter, Vimeo, YouTube. YouTube was the worst, okay? Anyone that spoke out about the election or against the vaccine or against Jesus or for Jesus Christ, you were deplatformed. They put it all in a group. Boom. The president lost 100 million followers on Twitter, okay? Now that day, when I was growing up, we had black and white TVs, and when you turned them off, they went down to a little tiny dot. And we turned them back on as kids, and they all came back to life. That little dot was our voice, and it was so small you couldn't even see it. Well, since that time, Parler was canceled. If you remember that, Parler was wiped off the face of the earth. So now Facebook and Twitter, they had no competition. YouTube, but since then, so what's manifest out of there, and CPAC stayed with it, and they didn't let up. At one time you could throw a rock down this hallway, okay? Everyone had just been hopeless, everyone feeling hopeless. What's the use, our country's turned to transvestites in schools and all this other crazy nonsense, right? No, that's not true. That was what they were doing to just make everybody think that, right? And what happened then now, our voice expanded horizontally. Everybody I know has a podcast or I have my own platform. You have all these platforms, Getter, Gab, Telegram, Truth Social, Lindell TV. You have Vocal Social, like I told you about. Look at the blessing of Elon buying Twitter, get rid of Jack Dorsey, and you got X. Even Zuckerberg at Facebook is trying to act like he's okay now, right? So our voice now, you don't have to get it from the fake news, whether the attack news, and you're not going to get it from Newsmax and Fox because they're afraid to talk about our election platform. You know what I compare them to? I compare those two outlets to weather channels, and they won't report only two things: hurricanes or tornadoes, because they will not talk about the election, but because lawfare was used in this country and everybody that talked about it got sued like me for billions of dollars. So the biggest thing we have now, everybody, is we have our voice. The biggest it's ever been in this country or world. People around the world don't have to get their news from troop outlets. They get it from everybody. We the people are speaking out, and you can talk about anything nowadays, right? You can talk about, but things that are going good, like our great real president Donald Trump, people are finding out about it every day. So people that were so far over here brainwashed are going, wait a minute, he's doing good things. He's doing good things. They wouldn't have told you about this on CNN. You think they're not, or Fox, they're not telling you about this stuff. And I put them both in the same group, okay? But you know who's telling about it? The people are. You go to social media platforms, you go to podcasters, you hear the truth. Or you hear, even if it's bad news, okay, you hear the bad news too. And you go, hey, now we can see where the bad, and not do it again, you know? And you got, so I'm very encouraged, and that's what my speech tomorrow here is going to be about, our voice. And we almost lost it. If we lost our voice, we're Nazi Germany. If we'd have lost it back on the 7th and 8th of January 21, because everyone was afraid to talk about anything. Heck, I was on Facebook back then, and none of my friends would like anything. I thought I was being shadow banned. They were afraid to be associated with me because I'm yelling from the top of the mountain, and they're going, hey, Mike, keep going. I don't even know him, It was crazy, Mike, you keep going. Keep going. Keep fighting. I'm over here. No, don't show me on TV. That's the way it was,
Wow. Well, Mr. Lindell, you've touched on a lot of subjects I'm very passionate about, all the way from COVID, the pandemic, to election interference and censorship. Do you find any of the biggest conspiracy theories out today to be plausible? What's your favorite one of all of them? Whether it be like the moon landing or Alex Jones saying they're making the frogs gay. What's your favorite?
Well, obviously my favorite is the one they say that that the computers, that they're safe. I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? But I guess I think they've already figured out how corrupt with the Kennedy and stuff. And now would I like to see Area 57, what goes on there? That'd be kind of cool, right? Show us that. What, is it real? Think I got some alien stuff in it? That's bizarre, I mean, or underground in Denver. I remember there was a show, who went there? I can't think of the show. But anyway, they went there and it was like a conspiracy theory show. Can we go underground here? Remember, that's the thing in underground. There's supposed to be this whole underground thing in Denver under the airport or something. It's like this whole underground city, and they wouldn't let them in there. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and they now there's stuff that's far-fetched. I think they say, well, did we really go to the moon? That one, come on, did we? Well, I've talked to a couple of them that went there. I mean, how do you fake that, and why do you? I mean, I always look at logic like, okay, why would you do that? There's got to be an alternative agenda, and it doesn't make sense. Well, we want to be ahead of Russia. Oh, really? We're so afraid of, boy, if we tell the public it's going to be mass pandemonium, right? It's going to be everyone's going to go crazy. Well, now you can't even count a UFO because you got drones flying all over the place. Can you imagine if you'd have popped in from a movie from 50 years ago till now going, what is all this, So you don't know. You don't know how much the government hid when you talk about, UFO stuff either. You don't know how much was hid, but there's so much out there that's like, used to be just in the Inquirer. UFO, I was abducted, whatever. But there's a lot of stuff out there that, it would be cool to get the answers to it, And I got to, if I was ever president, I'd look into a few things and say, I want to know. I'm going to tell everybody.
I'm very curious to know your thoughts on this. Well, how do you feel about the presence of secret societies or fraternal organizations like Skull and Bones, the Freemasons, the Bavarian Illuminati? What's up with all that stuff?
I 100% believe all that. The Freemason, Illuminati, and all the stuff, all the symbols in Washington, all the stuff I've read about, all the evil that goes back. I know people that were in there and tried to get out. I mean, so that's real. I really believe that's real. Now you're talking evil. And this is stuff that's tied in. You asked me earlier, who's running the world. Evil's trying. This is a battle of, we're living it. This is it. I mean, now we know who wins in the end, but all that stuff. There's the symbolism, the stuff that goes on. I know people that have been there, so I can't deny that. The stuff that you start getting into stuff There's stuff I took out of my book that because it would discredit the book. It'd be so unbelievable, And if you've ever read my book, have you ever read my book?
No, I just got it. I'm going to read it.
12,000. You read my book. I had to put in my book. I've had 14 near-death experiences, but the stuff in my book I collected all my life. I go, wow, this is going to be good for my book, and when I would eventually write. But I kept the evidence that it happened, or you wouldn't believe it had happened. Okay, for example, I fell asleep on a motorcycle, crashed it. I was going skydiving, crashed it, got back up on the bike, all banged up, went down, went skydiving, and my parachute didn't open. I had a streamer all on the same day. So, I have pictures and stuff. I mean, just crazy stuff. But not. I mean, I'm just telling you a tip. Or having guns in my head, or my head getting cut off in Mexico, going on a family vacation, going in with cartels. Things like this. But there's evidence. You go, wow, this really happened because there's the proof. There's the proof. And then when you read the book I have, it's called "What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO?" I use mathematical odds that prove that God exists. And I see, well, this is a 1 in a million. This is a 1 in a billion. This is impossible, like some of the stuff we're talking about. When do you put them all together and call it a miracle, right? If anybody can do that in their own life. I said, for me, I didn't do a full surrender until February 18, 2017. I always wore my cross, but God was always chasing me. You know what put me over the top was, here's a crack addict, an ex-crack addict, never voted in my life. I could care less about politics. And all of a sudden, I'm meeting Donald Trump before in a divine appointment in August of 2016. And then all of a sudden, I'm put into the spotlight of the country on all this. And I'm sitting in the White House. I didn't even think I could ever get in the White House with my record. And I'm walking in there, and all of a sudden, I go, who's sitting here? It was a little round table thing of manufacturers. And the president sits down next to me. Now, we go live to the nation. And my friends at home, some of them are still addicts at the time, going, what is this crack addict doing on TV? Next to the president, Jesus is real, because it would be impossible. Okay, impossible. And I think they all quit crack that day and did a full surrender.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, things like that. I'm going, it's just surreal, that they, for me. And I'm, if you read my book, I was a person that couldn't talk. I could not talk, believe it or not, to more than two people in the same room. I used drugs back then, and I owned bars and alcohol. I'd have to use that for false courage. Remember, if you can't, people have fear of rejection for public speaking or anything, and it's really easy not to get rejected if you don't talk. You sit back and you don't talk. Well, when I did a full surrender to Jesus Christ on February 18, 2017, 8 years just a few days ago, one of the things I forgave myself, like he forgave me, and for stuff I had done in the 80s and the 90s and all that. And and 2 months later, here's a guy that couldn't talk, and I'm at U.S. Bank Stadium. This is in the book. 50,000 people there, and it's a big Christian event, and bands and speakers, and they had me tell 5 minutes of my story and lead them in prayer. I'm going, if I'd have looked into a thing and said that that ain't happening ever, and it did though, and it's like I see those miracles, and now like people say, well, Mike, you've been attacked, you've lost everything. I've had millions and millions of dollars. $30-40 million put into the country to get rid of the machines in a fight, and MyPillow attack down to just every day, getting day by day. People say, I just interviewed the other day, they go, would you change your mind? If you could go back in time now that you've lost everything? I said, absolutely not. I was going to lose everything anyway. I mean, come on. Well, it doesn't matter. I told the media, I will fight until the last machine is gone in this country. And I ain't stopping. Do I look like I'm stopping? They're going, gee, maybe if we take all his money and destroy him, he'll quit blabbing. No, I couldn't talk back then. God says I can talk now, and I'm going to talk.
I love it.
Right on.
And before we close, the last thing I'd like to do with you that I do with a lot of my favorite guests is called describe them in one word. I'm going to throw out a name. You tell me the first word that comes to your mind. Donald Trump.
Common sense.
Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un, North Korean president.
North Korea? I'd say evil.
Vladimir Putin.
I'd say sad or evil would be my two things.
Yes, Putin.
Putin, Complicated.
Kanye West.
Complicated.
Jordan Peterson.
I don't know.
Carrie Lake.
She's a good friend of mine. I got to be careful. Ambitious.
Yes. RFK.
Common sense, I
Yes.
think. Of him. Yeah.
And last one, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk would be, I would say, genius. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Elon Musk, by the way, that was a big blessing that I prayed for, which was when he came on board last June. He had seen a lot of the stuff that we've uncovered, and he came out with a tweet or whatever they call him over there now. It said, we need to get rid of the electronic voting machines and go to paper ballots, hand counted. When he tweeted out that last June, I'm going, yes, you know. And I want to say one more thing to give some people hope. And I usually do this. I know people would always come up to me the last 4 years and say, Mike, you know, when you said at the Rose Garden that God had given us grace, this don't feel like grace. I said, oh, but it is. And I said, people don't look to God when things are going good. They look to when things are going bad. So we were in the greatest revival for Jesus Christ ever. But I will say, I used to say to people, and I still do, they go, well, Mike, I prayed that Donald Trump would get in, and he did, and I prayed for this, and this didn't happen. I prayed for this, and this didn't happen. I'm going, you know what? Those are reactionary prayers, and it might not be God's will. I used to pray all the time. I'm in jail. I'll never do it again. God, please let me out. You know, it wasn't his will to get me out early, right? But it might be God's will. Well, where is God's will? God's will is in the Word. And I tell people, if you stay in the Word, you can be proactive in prayer, and they line up beautifully. So you can have a peace going, okay, no matter what's going on, God uses all things for good of those who believe. And that's what I've been telling everybody. And now everyone's going, hey, it's great. All my prayers were answered. We've got more. This is just the tip of the spear, everybody. The tip of the spear of what's to come. This is a battle of biblical proportions, and we've all got to keep our voices going now. Don't ever go silent and say, and then you look all of a sudden, you look around 4 years ago, what do we do now? You know, I should have spoke up. Well, you're going to get another chance right now. Speak up and keep talking and keep shouting till you lose your voice.
Amen.
That's right.
Mike Lindell, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.